Right, well, that's a good angle. That looks like I'm standing up and you're lying down.
Haha. So, hi everyone. Joy's back. So we're going to do a session and just sort of help to shimmy things along. So since her breast cancer last year, there's still a lot of what's the doodad that got taken out?
Portacat?
The portacat's been removed. There's been 15 days of radiation. There was chemotherapy that just knocked her hugely. The radiation has just really flattened energy big time.
And 3 or 4 lots of dye, at least 4 lots of dye injected in me to look at various things.
Okay. And what's next? Like, where's the next level of stuff?
I'll have to go back in about a week or so for a test. And as far as I know, they'll be just checking up on me every few weeks. Yep. Before Christmas, I have to have another mammogram and a sonogram or something.
Okay.
Ultrasound, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Just to make sure that there's no more cancer jumped into me boobs.
Yep.
And on the 24th of October, 2024, I have my first appointment back in the breast cancer clinic at Bay Desert Hospital. And in the meantime, PA does all the stuff.
Okay. And her hair's growing back. She looks like a little sheep.
And they can have a look at my sheep if they like to.
Yeah, it's very cute and very soft. Okay.
And this kid of mine clearly didn't come off a sheep station like I did if she thinks I look like a little sheep.
You're going to do some weight loss process at some stage soon?
I'm taking some home today.
Okay. Because exercise hasn't been able to really happen, has it? Between COVID and Jim's shut and energy and
even when you go to the gym to do yoga, because of my both shoulders being buggered up from various operations and a lot of the things that you might do lying flat on your tummy normally, well, the flat on your tummy is a bit painful at present.
yeah,
Sometimes bloody disgusting.
have to take along your own pillow to lie on.
I take my breast cancer cushion when I
Oh, okay,
remember.
cool. Yep.
And sometimes they're doing exercises one way and I just lie on my back and hope that it works if you do them lying on your back instead of on your hands and feet.
And you're doing physio. What's the physio working on?
Michael, my doctor took pictures of my right hip, right knee, and he gave me an injection, a steroid injection in my right hip. But he said that, I can't remember if he really said I needed a hip replacement or a knee replacement, but couldn't have been my knee. He said that was beautiful, so it must have been my hip. The knee, I think, the kneecap.
So do they think you need a hip replacement?
He said it could be possible, but the physio, like you, the physio reckons he should be able to fix that without needing anything.
Okay, good.
My physio is a cute little man called Mickey. I mean, little, he's a lot taller than me.
Yeah.
You just don't think of men being Mickey, do you?
Nikki's cute. It's a cute name. And which one is it?
Right.
This one? Oh, the right one. Yeah.
But that knee is also crooked from when Doug tipped the water all over the floor. I told him to clean it up and I wasn't looking that way and I forgot he didn't clean. He was just started swearing, carrying on that he didn't do it. And so I was sitting at the table nowhere near it. I clearly didn't do it. So I must have knocked it over when he went past. But anyway, he wasn't owning up to that. But when I stood up, I fell in the water and one leg went left knee went down heavily and it's still sore from that. And
Oh, it's amazing.
Several months ago.
Yeah, no, that sort of thing can really take its toll on stretching ligaments and tendons and...
So I've just about given up even doing the most basic, badly done crossing your legs in front of you when you're doing yoga and I sit on with my feet out behind me on my knees. But they're both yoga poses, just the crossing of the ankles in front of you hurts. mostly the right leg too much, but sometimes it hurts the left leg too much as well. However, they're not complaining about me doing it. They know I'm doing my best.
Yep.
Looks like for the time being we'll be only getting 4 hours of lessons at the gym instead of a week, instead of 5, which is what they've been having. In case I invited you or anything on Sunday in Boat, is it cakes and cars or cakes and coffee or cars and coffee or something is cancelled? We're very overprotective, us bloody Rotarians. I see that Rathdowney and Carrabin and everyone else is having things. I think anything I thought you probably can't say on this program, but I thought all of them take my word for it.
In Queensland at the moment, we have 12 cases in all of Queensland with 5,300,000 people. And in all of Australia, even though, yes, we're on the second wave, I think we've got 54 people in intensive care. So
and all up, we haven't had 140 people dead yet, I don't think.
Oh, I think it's hit 200 in the last few weeks because of
Pixars.
Melbourne. No, that's what they reckon. But they've all been in aged care homes.
At least
Every single one.
At least one of them was over 100. There was something like half a dozen over 90. There were quite a few over 80 and over 70 and one over 60.
Hey, I agree with you. I'm just saying they tested positive for COVID with whatever test that is. No, I hear ya.
And nobody has died of flu this year.
We normally have.
Nobody has died
Sorry, we're really not laughing, but 3,000 to 6,000 people in Australia normally die of the flu. We've had 0.
And nobody has died of suicide. The suicide rate is
suicide's more than double.
More than doubled, and there's been a lot more domestic violence because sods that usually can go to the pub or the book club or something, go and dance, do something to get out of their system. They all have to stick there and look at each other all day. So there's a lot more domestic violence.
Yeah,
of course,
I think that's happening everywhere.
If you had to homeschool your kids, that'd be enough to make you violent. Kids are probably
We're not laughing, honestly. Oh dear, no, it's not funny.
We're just glad our kids are grown up and we didn't have to homeschool them.
There's
I'd never had whatever my kids did when they were little. I never hated them enough to think I'd homeschool them.
There's a study coming out in the Lancet shortly that's showing the extra kids dying because of all the repercussions of COVID. So
What do you
about
mean
10
dying?
dying because of lack of food, domestic violence, murder.
Lack of food?
Well, there's many places in the world where people are not allowed to work. If they can't work, they can't get money. So we're lucky in Australia. We've got a fairly good government, so we don't seem to be starving here. But worldwide, it's an excess of 10,000 children per month dying as a side effect of lockdowns of COVID-19.
You mean more than that many children die every year?
More than normal.
Right.
Which is just phenomenal.
I would think that all the teenagers will be dying because they can't have a bloody snog in the park if they've got to be shut in all the time. I hope they get behind the toilet blocks a lot.
Feisty today. Anyway, we're fully aware we're in a totally lucky place here in Australia. But nonetheless, even here in Australia, people are going crazy with the fear associated with it all.
I think half of them are going crazy with the fear. The other half are going crazy for being shut up like wild animals. Half the things you're doing, if you were doing it to bloody boat people or something, you'd be had up by the Humanities Board saying you were cruel. Ditto for prisoners in Australia. We're good on bloody rabbiting on about saying how frigging good we are, but we're not that good in practice.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. Interesting times. And I'm not sure why, but I don't know whether you heard that Victoria, our Victorian government, pulled back the need for flu vaccines to go into aged care homes. So the government brought it in as a rule on the 1st of May this year, the Australian government, that we had to have flu vaccines if we went to visit.
Dying.
Yeah, exactly. Well, the stats are actually worse. So inside the insert for a flu vaccine, within 180 days, the death rate is 0.5%. So that's just over the age of 65. If you get a flu vaccine, the risk is 0.5%.
You lot of, even if I shit myself every day, you lot not to put me in an old people's home because I don't want to have flu needles and all that other stuff that's inflicted on you once you get into one.
I would argue black and blue, so you did not get flu vaccines.
But don't put...
And your doctor should as well. With your history of cancer, you should never agree to a flu vaccine again.
I don't think I've had one in my life. Come on, get real.
So
I'm sure I never needed one when I went overseas, and I never would have had one just for the fun of it.
yeah, whereas the death
Doug
rate.
had one and got incredibly sick, so he's only ever had one.
Yeah, right. I thought he would have been a big flu vax boy.
We're still getting the pneumonia ones every 5 years or something,
Okay.
but then pneumonia is the thing that kills most old people.
Yeah, I don't know about the risks of the pneumonia vaccine.
Mind you, he's had pneumonia at least once or twice. He had pneumonia 14 years ago, which was why he ended up being diagnosed with a heart attack in hospital, which is probably the reason he's still alive. But that was with his heart, couldn't cope.
Don't know what that was.
Sounded like the street sweeper.
You did sound like that. Yeah.
Sounded like the street sweeper not in action.
Yeah, right, okay. Joy was on local council for a long time.
We still have one go past our house every couple of weeks.
Yeah, right.
We bought it when I was mayor, of course. They've never got another one since. So one street sweeper has to share the whole shire, so you don't get it terribly often. If I scream when you're doing that, we'll just know that I'm going to scream. That's been shit ever since the 19th of frigging December. But I wanted better.
Yeah.
Oh no, it must be working. It's going up the other side of the street. Well, I'll be in the shit. I had one leg and I had one wheel in the gutter.
Oh well.
So we'll have a swept car.
You're entitled to park there. Cool.
Just what's that? I've got stitches here that are still sore. I mean, the stitches are out, the side is sore.
Which one? Okay. Yeah, okay. Coming back.
This is always sore. I have no idea what the little things are, but when they took out the 2 lymph nodes, they cut some things and I might be sore for the rest of my bloody life. And the lymph nodes were perfectly healthy. You think,
Lucky you argued against them all coming out.
I don't remember having that argument, but I think they thought I was rather arguing about everything.
No, because I think originally they said they would have removed all the lymph nodes, but you...
They probably would have removed the tit.
Yeah.
Maybe it would have been less painful if they did. Did Daddy like his day in Stratty?
Yeah, had a great time. Kangaroos.
We saw them.
Love playing with the little cousins.
I don't think I'll take Doug overseas again.
Overseas. It is overseas, that is true. Might be as close to overseas we ever get again if everything becomes mandatory.
Yes. I mean, the amount of walking you had to do to get on the boat, etc., was remarkably little compared to what you'd have to do to have even probably a charleable aeroplane in Charlevoix.
Yeah, right. Because you took your car over, didn't you?
No.
Oh, right. Oh, okay. So did you drop him off and then go park the car and then come back?
That didn't seem to be an option. I parked the car where you could get the ferries, and the ferry left just as we got there, so we then walked over and got onto the...
Can I go through here?
Yeah, we'll try.
Is that still sore with the radiation? Or is it more down here?
It's more on
underneath.
On this tip, it's more this quadrant.
Yeah, okay.
Of course, this what do you call it? Shoulder blade,
Yeah.
no, collarbones.
Yeah.
The collarbone things can both get sore from time to time, but they're not broken. But this one has grown a big lump of it, of gristle. Be probably good in chicken soup.
Probably would be good for you in chicken soup.
It's pure thinking about it.
I want to check a couple of viruses from vaccines on you that are known to cause breast cancer and fatigue.
Vaccines.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't had any vaccines lately. They've all been bloody.
Yeah, but I'm talking things like polio vaccines from your parents, and then you would have got them through the genes if they're there.
Oh, for God's sake. Do you think my parents had polio vaccines? They weren't invented until I was about 14.
1934-35 are the ones I'm talking about.
I don't believe my parents had any polio vaccines. They weren't readily available. Maybe you got them if you got them.
I'm going to check anyway.
But I certainly had them when I was... We did have some, but we were fairly old. They were brought out after... Polio and tetanus were brought out after the rest of our vaccines because they hadn't been invented earlier.
Yeah.
Or they weren't available on a wide scale. But we used to have...
They made them the same way for 25 years, apparently.
We had to be... Well, by the time you got it, they were different because you lot had to have... I think Jimmy might have had to have a smallpox vaccine, but David didn't. Jimmy had to have, well maybe, and I know that we all used to have something that also was like a polio vaccine, like they were in those days. We had something that was like the end of a lead pencil,
Yeah.
and it left a little round mark about as big as your necklace beads.
Oh, yeah.
We had to have them for polio, and I got mine when I was 17, I think. So I think that I had it. I must have had it when Mum was in hospital with Margaret's here. I guess I was about 17. Mum wasn't there, so I know that Mum wasn't there when I had it. So I walked up to the CWA hall and got it. And we also had TB. That's what we had to be inoculated for. And then we had to get X-rays every so often for a couple of years after. No, I had to.
Yeah.
Had more X-rays than the others in the family. I don't know what was wrong with my lungs.
Yeah, right.
So maybe I really did have asthma 1,000 years ago, but nobody said I did. But I know that I did have to have a couple more X-rays than Joan and Mari after my TB. They were like the back of a needle and left a tiny mark, but they never stayed there like the polio ones did.
Yeah, right.
But I think main polio ones of mine that stayed, which was cowpox, not polio, not smallpox. Oh, whatever I'm talking about. That might have been smallpox. Maybe polio was you certainly had teaspoons of pink shit. I don't know that I ever had a teaspoon of pink shit. So I may never have been done for polio. I'm sure it was different. You kids at school must have been, you and your class might have been about the first lot of people that actually got rubella. And then later on I came in for boys as well. We certainly had no measles vaccines or rubella vaccines.
Yeah.
We just got it. But I was pregnant with you. I did have to have a rubella vaccine or the measles vaccine because Jimmy and David had something and I couldn't see any spots on them. They were just terribly sick, and I took them to the doctor and he said they had measles, but he couldn't tell which sort it was because in that early stage they were either on their tongue or behind their ears or somewhere that was, you needed a stethoscope or a microphone or something. I could not see anything. But so I ended up with a great needle in my hip to make sure that you didn't get rubella. I mean that I didn't get rubella, because if I got rubella you would have got deaf or demented in your heart or your tits or your kidney or something. I know deafness was one of the things that it did cause if you got rubella when you were pregnant.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what the other things were.
Which one?
Oh, it's just my arm. This thing just hurts for nothing. You didn't do it. It just hurts because it can, and it does it at every available opportunity. And my wrist is also hurting, and my wrist and my hand are sometimes so hard I can't type.
Both wrists? Left wrist, right wrist?
So my whole right arm like it's being killed.
Yep.
It's being killed from my breast cancer operation. And it all happens from, if you want to naked it, you can naked it, but not in front of the camera. Whose shoes was Teddy wearing? His Dutch shoes?
Jan and Teresa's.
How big were the little shoes? Teddy size?
They've always had the kids' ones there.
Oh.
SV40 is showing up for you, but XMRV isn't.
I have no idea what they are. Can I unstraighten my legs?
Oh yeah. Do you want to do that under your knees?
No, that'll do. I mean, if you need me flat all, you can put a doodad under there, but if that's okay with you, it's okay with me.
Mm-hmm. Does make you wonder, doesn't it?
What?
You know, if you hadn't done the operation, where would you be at?
Well, I'd probably be fine. I'd probably be fine until about this time next year, and then I'd have bloody crook liver or bones or something. Then I'd be dead.
Well, maybe.
Yeah.
Or you know about it and then you start sorting it out. So now you've had all this medical intervention that's, you know, fun and created potentially lifelong pain. So, you know.
Unless I had a live-in cook, I don't think I could have worked out all those things to live on frigging juice and frigging fruit. I don't like fruit and juice to begin with, and I don't think I could have lived on it. Monica could. vegetables. With all of this lockdown, what are they doing about homeless people? Are they making them live in only one every 1.5 metres under the bridges?
Sorry. Once again, not laughing.
Well, I mean, there's a hell of a lot of people that don't have homes.
Yeah.
Even in Australia, even if we don't admit it.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And if they ever get comfortable anywhere, well, you hose them or something and send them away. I know they did it back in London.
Hose them?
Hose them. And you think, Christ almighty, they've got everything they've got is on them, and then they go and hose them, and you think, Christ almighty, you could just, then you'd see them running around wearing 5 plastic bags. They look dreadful. But I mean, of course, they got hosed because they wouldn't obey a rule. Now, if you're sound asleep in a public toilet or something, because it's the only place you can find that's got a bloody roof on it, so you won't get wet as a shag from the dew or the snow or rain or whatever.
Mm.
I need to have my head more up. I need to do something. Now, I need to sit up. Oh. 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 Oh.
What's that?
All of those bones there are just hurting a lot. I don't know why. There's no reason for them to hurt.
Can I put pressure here?
Yeah. That always hurts, you know, that always hurts.
Feels like months since we've done a treatment.
It is. I think I had to go to Brisbane 3 or 4 days a week for 4 weeks.
For the radiation.
And yes, and at the end of that time, you know, sometimes I might actually have the energy to get out of bed. Sometimes I had the energy to get out of bed. Sometimes I had the energy to have a bath. Sometimes I got dressed. I didn't necessarily do all 3 things on one day. And you know, you might be right. You might hang a load of washing, and then you might come inside and get a cup of tea. And by the time you sit down to have your cup of tea, you haven't got the energy to go and you drink your tea because you haven't got the energy to go and get into bed because you really know that you should be back in bed, but it's too far to walk, you know, the last 20 steps into the bedroom. So it seems to hit you in a way when you just get so rooted. You're not. I didn't go to mosaics on Monday.
What's mosaics?
I've been just learning to do mosaics.
Oh, okay.
You squash stuff out, you break stuff up and then stick it together again. It's a bit like quilting with hard stuff.
Cool.
I think both of them are a bit weird. Mosaics, I think, is an excellent thing to do, as with quilting, if you use the leftover bits you've got. But no, they cut perfectly good plates and perfectly good piece of material and cut them up and join them together again, and I think that's frigging
Waste.
stupidity.
surely there's plenty of second-hand shops and stuff like that as well.
How what we've got in my desert? There's a big box next to the return book place. I don't know if the library started or somebody else, but people put, just buying the odd every so often I've seen a sleeping bag or something there, or children's clothes, or never rooted around to see what's in there, but it's warm clothes.
Yeah,
so
right.
that people can, well, all the op shops were shut, weren't they?
Yeah, right.
So anyone that needed anything,
Yep.
you know, if you're poor or you're not having much, and then all of a sudden all your op shops are shut. At least a lot of the things that volunteers have been allowed to open again. They have,
Yeah.
and I mean really, they need to open more stuff. They need to open more stuff so that people can go and shop every day, so that they can walk into a shop and say hello to everybody.
Mm-hmm. Yep. What a surprise. Human beings are good for each other.
Even if you've got bad people next to you, I reckon you'd be better off with bad people or batty people or anything. I would think, generally speaking, it'd be better than being on your own. It might be all right if you Rip Van Winkle and you're asleep and don't know. Well, I got a sore tummy for some reason or other.
It's all just jammed. So it is sore?
Oh, bloody oath, you're
Yeah.
hurting me like hell.
Yeah, right. Because everything here to here is just tight and inflamed. So the diaphragm is quite tight and inflamed. So you're not going to be digesting while all of this is happening. So I think the pain is probably stopping you from breathing deeply. You know, in yoga when they tell you to belly breathe,
I think I can still do that.
does it cause pain? Show me. Show me your belly breathing. Again. Now it's moving here. It's not actually moving here. Can you feel that?
I'd only done one breath. I'd take 3 breaths to get in into all 3 bits of
Okay,
me.
keep going. I haven't seen your belly move yet. I think you're still breathing in the upper, so, which is just funny.
I had no idea if it was working or not. But the yoga instructor actually found that I was, because she had her hands on me and she could feel where it was going. I said, you mean to say I actually get it right? She said yes, because I was surprised. I had no idea where it went.
Well, what I'm saying is your rib cage go out and in and out and in. And I didn't feel this go up at all. Like that just didn't move.
Oh, didn't it?
Mm.
Huh. Breath, what are you doing to me?
Mm. Well, pain will cause you to breathe in that upper part of your lungs.
Oh, right.
Just pain in general. And then when you're anxious about pain to come, that makes you breathe in that upper.
I don't usually worry about
Quadrantes
pain to
well.
come because it's usually there all the bloody time.
So when you're going to start HCG?
Oh, not tomorrow. Well, maybe tomorrow, maybe the next day. I'll probably need a day off tomorrow.
Yep.
Might be the next day.
What day is it today? Wednesday. Or you could do Saturday, Sunday and still just enjoy Chinese.
Chinese is shut.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if they had someone from Park Ridge or what, but I know that Marita's Martin Ball's kids are at the school where some of those people were cleaners.
Oh, right.
Park Ridge State School or something, so they had to stay home, so therefore Carol works for, I don't know if she's not a teacher, but she's something, I think, in the education department, I think. I'm not sure about that. Anyway, she certainly had to get time off to work home to look after the kids and work home because they got sent home for a fortnight to self-isolate or something.
Right. Oh, okay. So something to do with the Chinese restaurant might have done the same thing.
We don't know.
Mm.
It might be, Darren might have just been extra anxious. I think being Chinese, they might be, even though he's
Hypervigilant.
even possibly, well, Rotary must be too, because everyone else is still having things as minor as cake and coffee. Coffee and cars and coffee or something. It was only from 7:30 in the morning till 10:30, so it couldn't be that bloody bad.
Yeah.
But they cancelled it, and you think. And they cancelled us eating together in the house, and you think, for God's sake. And half of them are saying because they might kill Doug or I, and you think, for Christ's sake, we've survived this long, we're probably hardier than the bloody rest of you.
Yeah, there's no self-responsibility, is there?
Well, according to all the stuff on thing with all the COVID rules, nothing is self-responsibility. Everyone has, you've got to wash your hands. I've got to wash my hands so that no bastard in Melbourne will get freaked sick for crying out loud.
Mm-hmm.
Even if I'm not going to go anywhere in the world except sit in a house with Doug, been married to, living with for bloody 30 odd years, married for over 29.
There's been some really good studies so far showing that the zero spread for asymptomatic spread just doesn't seem to be a thing.
What are you talking about? Washing my hands to my bloody...
No. It's like if neither of us have a symptom, and they were saying we could kill each other because you might have it and then spread it to someone else without you knowing because you've got no symptoms. Yeah, so that's asymptomatic spread. They're pretty much saying that isn't true. So now they have done studies in Germany, Japan and the US, and they've tracked people who were asymptomatic, so it showed up positive, no symptoms, and they've followed the people for like a month afterwards that they came in contact with their tracing apps, and no one's got sick. So the asymptomatic spread just doesn't seem to be a thing.
Well, they seem to.
So it just seems to be a way of governments keeping control more than anything else and forcing people to do.
I think it's absolutely vicious because, I mean, even if we have got up to 200 people, we've got over 25 million people in Australia.
Yeah.
If 200 people have died, and would normally in this time have had at least 1,000 died from the frigging flu anyway, but by this time there would have been 1,000 dead, wouldn't there, or more from the flu?
Yep.
And there's 200, and I really think it's more like 140, but you might, because most of the people have been sick in Victoria, not freaking dead.
Yeah.
There's been bugger all dead people.
Well, I was surprised when I heard 200 overnight as well, and I thought, crap, there must have been a lot of people I'd missed.
Well, if it was 200 overnight, they must have shot some of them and tried to get out of the old people.
Stop laughing.
Well, I expect the people in the old people's homes mightn't be even dying from COVID-19 because they're not doing mortifiers on them. They're not sending them to them. They're not cutting them up to see if they really had it.
I've heard a couple of doctors talk about the fact that it's not a novel virus anyway. So novel means that we've never experienced anything like it before.
No, it's very
because
close
it's
to SARS.
Yeah, so it's 78%.
The avian flu and SARS is very like coronavirus. And they had all of this planned when I was a mayor, and they were going to, and I just laughed and said, what a load of bollocks. Well, it's still a load of bollocks.
Yeah.
I mean, other countries, certainly where you live 52 to a room,
Yeah.
well, of course they're going to get sick.
Yeah.
Whereas even on the streets of Rome, they have more people walking down the streets of Rome than we ever see in a bloody year and a half in that desert. Probably in Manly West as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I was listening to one reporter who had spoken to a guy who worked at a morgue, or maybe he was the dude who does autopsies or something.
I don't think they're doing autopsies on COVID people in case they get it.
Well, some places have started doing it because they figured if this is actually a new disease, how about we do autopsies and find out about it? So that's when they found out, yep, there's blood clotting in the lungs, so maybe we should use blood thinners. And there's signs of bacterial infection, so maybe we should use antibiotics. But there was also...
What they've been doing so far, just sitting there and waiting for them to die.
Well, a lot of people are being sent away because doctors were so scared of actually treating them, and because most places around the world are refusing to use hydroxychloroquine and zinc. Well, it's the drug that everyone's fighting about around the world because Trump mentioned it back in March. But it's well and truly documented, and even Dr. Fauci, who's, Trump's major medical officer, he's written articles in both 2006 and 2015 saying what a potent inhibitor of SARS-1 it is. So the fact that he's on there saying what a load of crap, it doesn't work, is just BS. So it just makes me really pissed off.
With Trump.
Well, Clive Palmer actually bought in millions of doses so that Australia would not be left out. It's sitting in a warehouse down in Melbourne. No one is allowed to use it.
Why?
Because they're idiots. A study came out in The Lancet about, it's got to be 6 or 8 weeks ago now, but then again, this year is so ridiculous, it might be 2 weeks, but I think it's about a month or 6 or 8 weeks or something. And this particular study was totally 100% fabricated, 100% fabricated. It was not peer-reviewed. It was done by a group called Surgisphere, who have like 5 or 6 employees. One of them happens to write fiction fantasy novels. But anyway, that's beside the point.
And they put it in Lancet.
It was in The Lancet. It mentioned like, say 600 hospitals and 93 countries, and said this is all the data with hydroxychloroquine, and it's all not true. And basically it said, so the overall results are hydroxychloroquine doesn't work and kills people. So The Lancet published it, which of course was already out there in the press. People hate it because Trump mentioned it. So it just, all the doctors who are anti-Trump and the countries who are anti-Trump jumped up down on the bandwagon, and I think are killing people by not using it.
Not that the doctors would have any choice.
No, they don't, because
if it's in a warehouse and they haven't released it, so therefore the likes of Jimmy couldn't use it. Not that he'd be dealing with this sort of people.
And he has zero. He's so straight down the line.
They're not allowed to use things, nor is any of them.
They are allowed to use things. People have been using it off-label for 60 years. So the fact that they're not allowed is this year only. Only. It's been used by normal doctors for normal things for 60 years. This year, Australia on the 13th of March classed it as a level 2 poison. It's never been a level 2 poison before.
What did you use it for?
Things like rheumatoid arthritis, Crohn's, colitis, so it's for autoimmunity. But used with zinc, it allows the zinc into the cell, and then it's the zinc that kills the COVID-19. But the hydroxychloroquine allows the zinc into the cell.
So if I had a bucket of zinc, it wouldn't do me any good if I had it because it
Well, no, that's not true either, because the zinc and C can actually help between the cells. So once you breathe it in, it'll be in through your body, for example. The more zinc and C and A you've got in your body,
C?
Vitamin C.
Right.
So the more zinc and C and A that you've got in your body, the more you can fight it between the cells. Once the COVID-19 gets into the cells, the little crowns on it, so they stick to the cell walls. Vitamin A helps to soften the cell walls so that it can't get in. But vitamin C and zinc help it between the cells, but once it's inside the cells, it's the zinc that kills the coronavirus.
Okay.
So
That's enough. Don't confuse me anymore. I've got that bit in my head.
Anyway, it works. And there's lots of doctors who are using it who are not killing their patients, who get it right at the beginning. But when you go to the doctor, you've got a cold, flu, sniffle, and they just tell you to go home, that's when to take the hydroxychloroquine and zinc just in case.
Later.
Yeah, and that's once again the guy who put together the protocol and, sent it to the White House back in February, March. He's still out talking about it. And apparently that's one of the big reasons why Italy's death rate went down, because he actually went and spoke to people in Italy about it. And within days, their death rate plummeted.
They started using it, you mean?
Yeah. Anyway, it's all silly. Just silly. Yes, so if there was ever a year I was going to think about getting political, this is the year. I'm not. But, it makes me think about it. And mainly because I'm listening to researchers and doctors a lot and, hearing what they have to say without being closed-minded.
They get too technical. And my brain is not when it comes to...
Medical stuff.
Well, it's not just medical. If you be the same if you start describing car engine or the moves in football. All three of them are subjects that really don't interest me terribly much. So they just... I lose the plot very easily.
Yeah.
I'm sure that if there was a whole lot of other chemical experiments. Oh, and if Josh and Blaze and Jay start talking about logarithms and things to make animated things on computers or something, you think, well, for God's sake, do a cryptic crossword puzzle or something easy.
Blaze got a new job.
Oh, really? What's he doing?
I don't know yet. He starts in 2 weeks.
Same firm?
No, different firm. He's a competitor.
Ah. Better money?
Yes. And with someone who used to work with him.
Right.
And
has he given his notice?
Mm-hmm.
It's all right. I'd hate him to get the sack or something because someone in Israel told someone in Minnesota and then they told Blaze across.
Anything's possible. Oh, God.
You should have seen the, you know, when you're doing yoga and you have to hold your toes like this, and that's a happy baby pose. Anyway, she told us to do a happy baby pose. Then she said there, laugh. Which of course I did. I've never seen such a shocked bloody yoga instructor in all my life.
New instructor, huh?
I laughed. Everybody else probably laughed because I laughed.
Yeah. But she didn't know your laugh.
Oh.
So she was a new yoga instructor.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, she might have been there for a while, but at that stage, obviously, she hadn't told us to do anything ridiculous. Like the other day, the last lesson, I think it was, she put us into a pigeon or half pigeon pose. Well, if you get into, especially if you've got 2 crook hips and 2 crook knees, by the time you actually get half into the pose and you're still trying to gradually get into it so that all the bits don't break. And then she said, now relax and stay there for 3 minutes. Of course, by whatever position, you couldn't freaking relax. You're flat out using a couple of pillows and blocks and things just to keep you in the position. I just cracked up and couldn't stop laughing. Because she said, relax. And I think, yeah. Like when they put your arm and your leg and everything else in positions where you can't move in, when they're trying to teach you how to hit a golf ball, and they right now swing it, you think, freaking out. Probably couldn't even fart when you're in a position like that because they throw the position out.
Are you able to get out gardening or anything? Like, I'm just wondering if you're getting any sunshine or...
Do you think in your wildest dreams that I would go and garden for the fun of it?
You are getting sunshine, though.
Oh, he's in bloody Jordan.
So,
I hang the washing out.
not a lot of sun.
If you're one of the people like me who got bloody sunspots and you're not as bad as Tootie, but sort of get told, keep out of the sun, keep out of the sun, keep out of the sun. I suppose I get enough fresh air, but I would do my best not to be in the sunshine.
Okay.
What do you think I should start sunbaking in the backyard, naked?
I think winter's the good time to get the sunshine.
It's too cold to sunbake not naked in
You
winter.
don't need to be naked.
That could scare the bloody wildlife, couldn't it?
Peacocks will go nuts.
Well, they wouldn't notice.
You keep blowing your base chakra so you're just not grounded, and it's nature and that sort of shit that, helps to...
Say that again in English.
Sunshine, grass, dirt. You're not grounded. So every time I put in anything to do with pain, it blows the base chakra. Base chakra is
You
about...
mean I need more dirt on my feet?
yeah, dirt and rocks and grass and whatever sort of suits.
Why do you want that uncomfortable stuff on your feet for?
Wearing shoes, you don't get the energy. So then you need fresh air and sunshine.
So I have to take my shoes and socks off at yoga. I've been keeping my shoes on at yoga because that stops my feet getting cramps. I have no idea.
Do you wear shoes to do yoga?
Not very often, but sometimes if I get cramps in my feet, I think, well, if I leave my shoes on, then I can't bend them in positions that are too far bent. That'll give me a cramp.
Yeah.
They're
No,
very,
Ian Gawler, who
they're very soft little sand chewy things.
oh yeah, Ian Gawler, who wrote that book about
The one that
cancer and meditation, like 30-40 years ago.
Yes.
Yeah, I
She's
think.
still alive?
Yeah, well, I saw him at a cancer conference a couple of years ago.
Oh.
So he was a